Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie of Georgia Beer Reviews back at you this evening with a very special examination. It's an Imperial Stout examination. What else, right? I mean, that's what we all like here, and we got some good ones for you this evening, I think. I'll start with Michael. We'll just go around. We'll tell everybody what we've got, and then we'll go back around and start getting into these because we're all just dying to get into these wonderful beers. So, Michael, I'll let you start off. What do you have tonight?
Okay, this is from 6 Point, and it's called Black is Beautiful. It's from it was canned in March of 2021. So it's been in this can for 3 years plus, and it's 14% alcohol. It is a double oaked Imperial Stout aged on vanilla beans. John has had it twice.
And yeah, phenomenal. And I would only imagine that it's going to be even better now that it's got a little more age on it. So really excited to hear what you think about that. Okay, so the Black is Beautiful, 14%. Now we've got Ian with his stout. What are you drinking? What are you bringing?
I have a Oscar Blues 1050 barrel aged from approximately 2019, 12.9%. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
It's been a long day at work.
They don't even they still make the Oscar Blues 1050, but they dropped the ABV. It's not aged.
The standard 1050 was never barrel aged, which they still make. It's still 10.5%.
Right.
Barrel stout. The barrel age they do in limited releases. I have one from last year downstairs. So
the last 1050 I had was a couple years. It was like 2022, maybe the barrel aged one, but the ABV was only 12.5. So the 12.9% one that you have is high. They don't make that ABV range anymore for the barrel aged one. So I'm pretty excited to see how that one held up, being that it's in a can too instead of a bottle. Bottles versus cans, you never know. Okay, so I've got one here that I've been looking for some of these variants for years, never seen them, and found one a couple weeks ago. And here, I'll show the case first. Put the title up on the screen, but this is the Bourbon County 2. No, I put 2 County. Bourbon County 2-year reserve. I'll have to fix that. It is a special variant of Bourbon County. There's the special case that it came in there. It's got a nice strip. It was sealed as well. You had to kind of break the seal to get into it. And then here's the bottle. And it's like a dark gray color label. You got the 2023 in silver. And then there's the back. The clock's in at 14.5%. So I think the thing that excites me the most about this is it's aged in Eagle Rare bourbon barrels, which Eagle Rare is already a 10-year aged bourbon. And then they barrel age it in those bourbon barrels for 2 full years. So this is going to be super in your face bourbon, I think. And I love Eagle Rare bourbon. I actually have a bottle and have been sipping on it over the last week or so. Really, I mean, you can see the color of that. Really dark, rich, 10-year bourbon. So the bourbon is fantastic. The regular Bourbon County is fantastic. So I can't even imagine the combining of the two products, how amazing this is going to be. So don't let me down, Bourbon County. All right. So let's go ahead and crack these bad boys open, pour them up. We'll get aromas on them, and then we'll come back around for the tasting after that. So Michael, I'm gonna go back to you, and you can all pour yours up if you want, and just start smelling it, and then get your thoughts together, and then we'll.
I'm using this huge glass to give it a lot of breathing room. And I also try to pour it heavy because in the past when I've had these, you get a fast head fade. but I'll show it to you. I'll show you the head.
Right.
This is the head on the pour. Do you see? What would you say this is? A half a finger?
Yeah.
Like a half a finger, dark, almost like a beige color. It looks like.
And the way these usually go, a half a finger now in 45 seconds will be just flat out, because that's what happens. Vanessa Kitty is there.
Cheers, Vanessa.
Howdy.
It's interesting. It's interesting, Ian, because we're competing with the other beer shows that are on Wednesday. There's two different ones. I think Jay is doing spring beers, and Eric is doing his are always, Joker. Anything you want. Does it smell good?
Yeah. It's
okay.
Out of
but what did I tell you about the head?
It's gone, right?
Down to now. It's a rim head. If you know what the rim is, just the rim is left.
Oh yeah.
These higher alcohol beers have trouble holding their head anyway. There's just no way you can do it. They just
Not bad for 14.5%. Nice little half finger there, but that like yours, I suspect mine will be gone very quickly. Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah, it was
John,
amusing when I first poured this. It had a head like that much.
I know, and look how yours faded too. So just
it faded, and then I poured it again, and there was a little bit of a head, and that faded real fast.
So, John, do you want to give me the nose on yours first?
Sure. Dark fruit and chocolate are the first two things that I get. Very intense, like raisin, prune, even a little fig, and like dark chocolate. I'm getting a lot of dark chocolate with this. It's very rich on the nose. So we've had a lot of bourbon counties over the years. We've done a lot of examinations where we're drinking Bourbon County. This is the strongest aroma of a Bourbon County that I've ever had. It's interesting though, because it's not super oaky. It's dark fruit, dark chocolate. Now I'm getting a little bit of the oak. But a lot of times that's one of the first things that you get is the woodiness, the woody oak cask character. And that presents a lot of time as wood and vanilla. I'm not getting vanilla so much on the nose. It's almost like a dark chocolate covered raisin with a little bit of like a wood note in the background. And as with a lot of Bourbon County, I am detecting some of that sweet tobacco. That's there as well. And that's pretty much it. But it's very in your face with the dark fruit and the chocolate. And chocolate's not something that I really notice a ton of on Bourbon County, but I'm definitely picking it up. That was one of the first things that I detected with this one. So it smells absolutely amazing. So, Ian, I'm going to let you describe your aromas, and then we're going to get into these things ASAP.
Okay, this one is surprisingly subtle. It doesn't have a particularly strong aroma. Either that or my nose is hurting from allergies. But definitely getting a little bit of the darky fruit smells. Not so much in the way of chocolate or oakiness or even the there's very little of the I'm not getting any bourbon aromas or anything. So like I said, very surprisingly subtle.
What about roasted? Any roasted malts?
Light. Yeah, it's like I said, it's very surprising. It doesn't have a ton of it doesn't have a strong aroma at all. So, interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, never know.
I'll give you mine. I didn't give my nose yet.
Okay.
Mine is an intense vanilla. We're back. So I'm getting vanilla. And I'm also getting the same oak like you had, John. Mine has oak in it too. And they said that it's oaked. So you can get the oak and the vanilla.
Right.
Those are the strongest taste. There's some background stuff, but it's not strong now. It'll definitely come out in the taste, I think.
Okay. All right.
So who wants to go first?
Well,
I guess we should pick
really
up our glasses
excited
at the same time because I'm sure we're anxious to do it. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Go for it.
Cheers to you guys. Oh, jeez. All right, I'm going to keep my thoughts. I'm going to go. We're going to pull up everybody individually. So I'm going to start with Michael and go ahead and give us your initial tasting impressions.
Okay, so the taste definitely follows the nose. Very strong vanilla and some oakiness. I'm also now getting some of the bourbon in the taste. So I couldn't smell bourbon, but I should call it whiskey because I can't say what barrels they use. They don't tell you. But I'm getting kind of a whiskey kind of, and it could be bourbon, which is fairly strong. Now, it's funny, it's not boozy, and yet you can tell. I don't know if you can see it. It's I would say it's medium in terms of it's so it's not syrupy, but it's not thin. So it's somewhere in between. I guess what you call it, medium in between.
Yeah, that's fair.
But as you can tell, it's not a beer you should trifle with. In other words, you don't want to start chugging this. It would be a major mistake because, and John's and yours either, because it's almost like when you start getting into these upper echelons of ABV, the challenge is on, and they're for sipping. They're not for going crazy. It's not worth it, and it's too good to not really. Let me take another sip and see if I can get anything else. Not really getting any dark fruits in this one. What else? What else might be there? Vanilla is definitely the lead taste. If you do not like vanilla, I don't think you'd like this. Oh, there's sweetness. There is sweetness in this. Definite sweetness, but it's not anywhere near cloying level. It's almost like the sweetness tops it off, and then whatever they're balancing in, the hops seems to settle it out. So it's more sweet than it's bitter, but there is some, it's a modulation between the two kind of things. And I'll keep sipping on it. Come back to me, and maybe as it warms up, there'll be more taste in it.
Nice. All right. Let's bring up Ian. Give us a little bit more info. 1050. How's it tasting?
So I'm a big fan of 1050, the standard, regular, normal 1050. So this is surprisingly smooth, not boozy at all. Like the 12.9% is extremely well hidden. Generally just strong. I mean, a good solid Imperial Stout flavor. Not a lot of obvious overtones of fruitiness or maltiness or even the bourbon is pretty well hidden too. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's the best barrel aged stout I've ever had, but but as an Imperial Stout, it's good. It's very good.
Okay.
Is it
better?
Now Ian, you've had the straight 1050 as well. How does it compare with that?
Many times. My
is it more intense than this? Is it more intense than the straight 1050?
Probably. Maybe it's because it's been aging in my basement for 5 years that the intensity is very low. It's very well. It's been very smoothed out. I mean,
that's good.
I've had straight 1050 that's probably more intense flavor wise. It's definitely probably higher on the bitterness scale than some of the other Imperial Stouts I've had, or in other barrel aged stouts. So it's got a little bit bitter bite to it that most you wouldn't Ow, sorry. So I like it. It's good though. It definitely tricks me into probably drinking it faster than I should.
It sounds like
So
too,
you're
based off of the aroma, you weren't getting a lot. It sounds like you're getting a little bit more flavor than what you might have expected based
A
off
little
on
bit
the
more
nose.
flavor, but like I said, the ABV is 12.9%. It's like it doesn't taste like a 12.9%. I've had 8% that have been more boozy flavor.
Nice.
So
Okay.
definitely well hidden on that regard.
All right. Very nice. Well, we'll let you keep sipping on it. I'll talk a little bit about mine. So this is, I think, when we did the last examination, the Bourbon County one, where I had the reserve or the anniversary stout. That was one of the best Bourbon Counties I've ever had. I may have even given it 100. I don't know. I hope I didn't, because this one's better than that, and there's nowhere to go from 100. I could start pulling around, Jay Terrio and give extra credit points, I guess. But this is outstanding. This is the most flavorful Bourbon County I've ever had. Maybe because it's aged for 2 whole years in 10-year aged bourbon barrels. So you've got 12 years of aging between the barrels and then the Bourbon County itself. Like, it's just, it's really just, I'm almost at a loss for words. It's really amazing though, because the dark fruit notes and the chocolate come through first. There's strong, like, dark chocolate notes in here. And that could just be coming from the roasted malt too. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with the barrel aged part of this beer, but definite dark chocolate vibes with dark, like, date, fig, prune, really rich dark fruit flavors. Then you get some of the oak in the middle, a slight vanilla on the palate. I wasn't picking up any vanilla on the nose, but the vanilla is coming through just a smidge on the palate, which is probably coming from the bourbon barrels as well. And then that little tobacco note that a lot of the bourbon counties have, I'm definitely picking that up with this, although not as much as with some of the other bourbon counties. And I think that's just because this one is so heavy on the dark fruit notes and the chocolate initially. It's really a little bit more full body too than other bourbon counties that I've had. It's not like thick and viscous and syrupy or anything, but it definitely has a more full body than some of the other bourbon counties that I've had. This is really, really special. Really special. This is probably, if not the best bourbon county I've ever had, it's definitely top 3. I've had a lot of bourbon county over the years, a lot of different variants, a lot of different years. I've aged bottles. I've bought bottles that were 2 or 3 years old that have been, sitting on the shelves for years. This one really just, it's blowing my mind how good this is. And the price was the same price. I was expecting a variant like this to be $30 or $40. It was $24.99, which is the same price as the regular variants that they come out with every year. It's usually $12.99 to $14.99 for the original Bourbon County, and then you get the cola stout or the coffee one or the other variants depending on which year you're looking at, and those are usually $24.99. Well, this is the same price as the coffee and the cola ones that were on the shelf, and this one just blows those away. This has got the best Bourbon County flavor I think I've ever had, probably because of the Eagle Rare barrels that they're aging it in. This is a fine bourbon, and I have a bottle of the bourbon as well. These are the bottles, or this is the bourbon that this Bourbon County is aged in. These barrels, the Eagle Rare 10-year barrels. And
John, can you get more of it? Can you get another bottle or not?
There were a few bottles on the shelf. I will definitely go buy another bottle for $24.99.
Sounds like a deal.
This is the best Bourbon County. I'm telling you. And at 14.5% too, it's not boozy. I mean, obviously, you're drinking a higher alcohol barrel-aged beer just because it's got so much complexity, so much flavor, and it's got the bourbon qualities, but it's not, it doesn't burn the throat. It doesn't singe the nostrils. It doesn't have like an unpleasant booziness that you get sometime with lower quality, high gravity lagers and malt liquor and, things like that. It's so smooth and easy drinking and complex. No leather with this one. I know we talk about leather sometimes in Bourbon County. That I've gotten leather with. This one is not one of them. But
how about the
tobacco,
John? How about the
dark chocolate?
What about the cherry taste? Are you getting any cherry?
I'm not getting cherry with this one. I think I got cherry with the anniversary stout that we reviewed last time, but not with this one. This one is all about that dark fruit, dark chocolate, tobacco, and the oak, the barrel, just the barrel presence. And I think you only get this much barrel with bourbon that's aged for 10. I mean, the bourbon barrels that they're using are of the highest quality. I think that makes a big difference. I would love to try, the one, there's a variant from years ago, Elijah Craig, which is an amazing bourbon. You've got a Blanton's version, Blanton's version, an Old Forester version. So like really good, strong bourbons. They have specialty variants that are like this. They're aged in those specific barrels only versus the regular Bourbon County, which is a blend of Heaven Hill and I think 3 or 4 different bourbons. This is just next level. It just takes the original Bourbon County and it just blows it up. It hits it out of the ballpark, sinks the battleship, whatever metaphor, whatever you want to use to describe it. It's out of bounds, over the top.
This might have to get 100 plus.
We
have to go to Jay's rating system.
I might have to create a new rating for this beer. This is really incredible. Let me just go to the comments really quick. So we got Eric, Thomas Mel 75. He's drinking. He's currently on his live Rising Tide Nikita Russian Rye Imperial Stout, 9.6% with Danko Rye, Flaked Oats, Midnight Wheat. Nice. That sounds really good, Eric. And he says he'd love to hop on. Yeah, we'll probably, when we go off air, we'll be on for a while too, so you can hop on over. I'll post the link whenever you're ready. Alex is in the chat, says, cheers, appreciate you guys. And then Eric says, Eagle Rare rules. Yeah, it really is good. And hey, Johnny boy, is that? Yep. Yeah, it's me, Alex. I know I don't go live a ton, but yeah, it's definitely me. And East Coast LQ Reviews says cheers. Commerce Ozzy says cheers. So wow, for a kind of a last minute, no notice type of stream, we got a lot of comments, a lot of good comments and viewers. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Yeah, it sounds like we've all got some winners here tonight. Let me go back to the original order there. So I want to go back to Michael really quick, and we just kind of, and actually, if anybody has anything to say, we'll just jump in. This isn't really like a super formal type thing. With 3 people, you can pretty much just kind of go back and forth. But any new, as the beer is starting to warm a little, are we picking up on any new notes or aromas or anything?
I didn't mention. He mentioned that his was well masked. Mine's well masked too, but it's not to the point where you would not realize, like you said, John, it's a big beer. It is. I mean, you're not going to be claiming, this is a session beer, because you can tell right away it's not.
Right.
But it's for a 14%. It drinks more like a 9, maybe, or a 10.
Okay. I would say, for a 14.5, the one I'm drinking, it probably drinks like a 10 or an 11. It doesn't drink like a 14.5 because that's a high. Over 14% is really high for a beer. I mean, that's why so many states don't even set legally. You can't even buy anything over 14% in a lot of states. So, I mean, we're getting up there for yours as well as mine, and even Ian's 12.9. That's 13%. I mean, these are all very high ABV barrel aged stout. So the fact that the alcohol is masked so well for all three of these, Ian, it sounds like Ian's may not even have alcohol in it at all.
Yeah,
I mean, we're doing pretty good, I'd say. That's an indication of a quality beer when you can have such a high ABV point and not feel it. Well, you feel it, but you don't pick up on it so much.
Yeah.
Ian, I believe this is true. Both, I think all three of our states do not have any regulation on amount. Massachusetts doesn't have any high thing because the stuff that they brew in Boston is like 40% or something. And you can get that in Massachusetts. So there's no limit.
Yeah.
New York and Pennsylvania, I don't think have any limit either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's southern states that seem to have a limit. I don't know why.
Yeah, Georgia. I mean, I'm Georgia Beer Reviews still because I was in Georgia for so long, and that's when I started my channel. But Georgia was 14%. Alabama was less than that. I think 12%.
And so was Mississippi. I think is 10.
I was going to say Tennessee, I believe, is 10%. But it's interesting because you have Louisiana, which is a big port city, but there's no limit in Louisiana. You see Ontario with all of these super high alcohol.
And that's in the South too. I don't think Texas has any limit either. So I guess everything's bigger in Texas supposedly. So they shouldn't have any alcohol laws in Texas. They just go for it,
right?
Yeah, and I think I'm pretty sure I probably bought this in New Jersey.
Anything different.
Yeah,
New Jersey, I don't think. Yeah.
And New Jersey doesn't have any limits either.
Most of these, I tend to buy most of this stuff in New Jersey because there's a place called Circle Liquors in Pennington, New Jersey that used to have a lot of good. We used to have a lot of good craft beer selections. It's dropped a bit. It's dropped down a bit. Last couple of times I've been in there, the selection's been pretty limited. But there's a beer distributor right up the street from me, and I've yet to go in there. I have to see what the kind of stuff they sell.
Well, you have to check it out, Ian. Get on the thing just to let us know.
Considering it's like 2 miles away from my house, it's a lot easier for me to get to than most of the other places.
You know what I'm starting to pick up on, Michael? You mentioned cherry. I'm not getting that, but I am getting a berry note, like a blackberry or a raspberry, kind of like a really tart, sweet. I think it's more blackberry. I love blackberries and raspberries are two of my. I love just popping some raspberries or some blackberries. Nice little snack. I'm getting that. That flavor, almost kind of like a combination, like when you take blackberries and raspberries and you mix them together and you get that just ultimate berry compote type of thing. I'm picking up on a little bit of that.
So your beer, John, is very complex because all the flavors are blended together, and you're saying how really it's coming.
I just can't even. And you can tell I've been drinking. I've only had a few sips, but my cheeks are a dead giveaway. I've been drinking because they just turn just blood red. I'm not wearing makeup.
That's what 14.5 does for you when you're drinking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
hydrating.
Yeah. So I got a question for you guys because you're both. I've got the bottle here in Bourbon County, and I've never noticed anything with the bottles of Bourbon County. But with cans, sometimes we've talked about, for whatever reason, sometimes cans lose carbonation and they age maybe not as well as bottles, especially if you have a bottle with like a wax seal over the top too. Are you noticing like any carbonation issues? Like, is it flatter than you remember it being a year or two ago, Michael or Ian?
Well, I'm looking at this now. You can see when you see the top of mine, I am regenerating. It's not anything amazing. All I'm doing is getting a rim head, but it hasn't completely faded to just, dark brown or black. So there is the carbonation in this one is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the carbonation is good too.
I've had other cans which I think have suffered. Now, I don't know if it's in the handling of the can originally or the fact that you cellar it for long periods of time, but I have had some where it wasn't flat, but it wasn't as good as it originally was. This one seems to be pretty excellent, where it really hasn't suffered. So
this one seemed to be okay because, like
Yeah.
I said, when I first poured it, I had a head of about that much,
which is uncommon for a like 4 or 5 year old.
High alcohol beers like this, sometimes sometimes you don't get any head.
Right,
I've poured beers where it's completely to the top.
Poured like a good,
it just goes away.
It poured a good 2/3 of the and even when I finished off the can, it added about a finger's worth of head to it.
Yeah, and see, you can see the head on mine too has gone away, but you've got that little rim like Michael talked about. Yeah. And then if you kind of go back and forth with the glass like this, you can actually see alcohol legs kind of start to drip down.
And you're getting some lacing on the side, John. Look, you're getting lacing too on your side, which is
some bubbles, some lacing, but right. I don't know how well the other stuff's picking up, but maybe if I swirl it around and then show you really quick, there's actually alcohol.
I'm getting lacing on the side of mine too.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Bit. But alcohol
so
legs
John,
like you would get with
I have a big question now. Let's go back to your, what was it called? Northwoods, the first variant you ever had. Going back, is this better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was your favorite Bourbon County.
You have to realize that the Northwood Stout edition, I believe it was 2017, and it was 12.9, I believe, because I was in Georgia at the time. We couldn't get anything over 14.
It had to be below 14.
So, and it was the only variant I'd ever had. It was my. Oops, sorry. I don't know what happened there. I may have had my channel. As a matter of fact, I think I did review it at some point on my channel. I gave it 100, and it was amazing. It's still one of the. It's probably my favorite variant still to this day. But the variants really don't compare, unless you're talking about a variant like this, which this is not so much a variant as it is a better version of the original because it's aged in better bourbon, but there's no added flavor to this. The variants, when I say variant, I mean like like the coffee, the Northwood Stout, the Bananas Foster, that type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, that was amazing. It still is amazing, the Northwood Stout one, but it cannot compare. None of the variants can compare to the original Bourbon County that's put out every year, or these specialty bottles where they use special bourbon and age it for longer. They don't compare. If I was to rate, I'll say one more thing about that. If I was to rate the Northwood Stout edition today, it would probably get a 96 or 97. It would not be 100 out of 100.
Well, part of it, John, was at that stage you hadn't had any Bourbon County. So what you said is, hey, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And you have to rate it that way.
The best thing I had up to that point, yeah. Which is probably why I should do like you do, Michael, and just the highest rating I should probably give is a 99, because I think I gave the Reserve Stout last time, which was a $40 bottle. I think I gave that one 100, and this one is better than that. So what do I do? Give it 101?
Like I said, you have to go into Ron Terrio level and go 100
right
plus and say, well, we're even one step past that, and that's it.
Right.
Now, I could at some point hit something. There we are. We're back. So when we get that, that's like a fade of StreamYard when you drift or when we drift for a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
what do you think that is when we drift out and then it spirals back?
It could be your connection. It could be a StreamYard issue. Even when you guys are freezing up, like I'm still hearing the audio. So I think it's probably just StreamYard is overloaded. Like Wednesday night is a very busy night. I mean, heck, there's 3 other beer streams that we know of going on right now.
That we know of.
I think it's just high traffic. When there's high traffic live streams, I think things kind of are slower.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's anybody's.
I see
fault.
you guys freezing, but I don't see myself freezing. But at the same time, I'm actually cabled to my router. Like I'm not running off of Wi-Fi or anything. I'm actually because this is my work. This is actually my work computer, so I'm actually cabled straight to it. Because my home computer, my personal computer is acting funky right now, so it doesn't want to. The camera and audio doesn't want to work.
John, I have not had the one you're having today, but I had the other one that you rated the 100 the last time with my group.
The one that comes in the reserve 30th anniversary.
Yes, I've had that, and again, I wasn't rating it in numbers. I gave it a 9.75, which is as high as I can go. So I'm sure the one you're having today, I would give this one. You say I don't have any extra credit either, so I guess I could give this one a 9.75 and add a plus to it. But it sounds like you like this better than the last one, so I'm sure it's a little bit better.
Yes, I do. I kind of. Well, I don't regret giving the other one 100 which I'm pretty sure I did, because it really was. I mean, and it still probably is 100. There's different, it's just my personal palate. This one is even better because it's just the other one was like 20% Eagle Rare, 40% Old Forester, 20%. So it was a blend as well, but they were really, really good barrels. This one is all Eagle Rare. So I think,
and for 2 years. So look at that extra time. The other one was
right.
Yeah.
So it's 2 years. 2 years in the Eagle Rare barrels. But the Eagle Rare itself is a 10-year bourbon. So you're talking about 12
years. The other ones are probably 8-year or 6-year whiskey.
Right. So this one just has more.
Amazing.
By default, just by the way that the Eagle Rare is produced and aged, this one just automatically has more character, more complexity, because it's just a better bourbon that they're aging it in. Bourbon barrel that they're aging it in. And honestly, here, I'm going to do really quick. I'm just curious now that I've been sipping on the Bourbon County.
We knew with the bottle available that John is going to at least taste his
I want to taste the actual Eagle Rare itself and see if I can detect any similarities.
Okay. Cheers to you for a sip of Eagle Rare.
Oh, yeah. You can tell. Yeah. This is when you do a side-by-side with Bourbon County and then the Eagle Rare bourbon, a lot of the character from this bourbon is imparted into this version of Bourbon County.
Cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Let me take a sip of this really quick. I'm not going to get too crazy with this because we're not examining the whiskey. We're examining the Bourbon County.
Right. But you still like to get the feeling together.
Oh, yeah. Man, this is for the price. I paid $40 for the bottle of the Eagle Rare 10-year. Well worth it, in my opinion. I was talking to Eric, who was in the chat earlier. He said he can get it for $30 in his area, which for a 10-year bourbon, you can't go wrong, $30 or $40, because this is dynamite. You can. As soon as I took a sip of the bourbon, I could tell you why this is my favorite Bourbon County, because this bourbon makes this Bourbon County. That the flavors imparted from aging it in those barrels, it's amplified over the regular Bourbon County, and even that 30-year reserve, which has incredible barrels that the Bourbon County is aged in and then blended together. This takes the cake. This is just. It's the bourbon. The Eagle Rare bourbon is some of the best bourbon that you can get. If you're looking for a really oaky, really great, sweet caramel, toffee, oaky bourbon, this is it. I feel like I'm talking a lot because I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to feel the alcohol a little bit, but
I have to ask you a question. Where'd you find it for $40? Because I'm not seeing it for $40.
You're seeing it for more or less?
Yeah, a lot more.
Oh,
at least that's what pops up when I Google Okay, so it's from Buffalo Trace.
Yes, Buffalo Trace
Yep.
makes Eagle Rare.
Well, Eric,
Okay.
who's in
Okay.
the
I was wondering
chat,
about-
said he can get it for $30. So I guess it's just
interesting.
depends
And-
on the
and-
area. But
I'll just
And
yeah,
Ian,
I'll have to take a look at if it's available at my local shop.
yeah,
But I
Eric
know
is in the
Buffalo
same.
Trace is difficult to get around here.
oh, you know what? Hold on. I misspoke. Wait a second. Eric said he can get his for $30 to $40.
Okay, so his might be closer to the same as yours then. If he's saying
My bottle. I apologize. My bottle was This was a $65 bottle.
Okay, so Eric, if he can get it for $30 to $40, that's a deal. Because do you remember when we used to speak to Jay?
Eric said, "Yeah."
I was surprised when you
Go
said
ahead.
40
I'm sorry.
because that's
it's
that.
cutting out, so that's cool.
All right, hopefully it'll come back.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm not trying to cut anybody off. I think we're kind of talking, and the StreamYard is slow, so it's like interlacing our what we're saying. But Eric says he can get it between $30 and $40 a bottle, which is crazy low to me. I paid $65 for this one, which still, for what I'm getting for a 10-year bourbon, I think that's a really good value. And the fact that I got this bottle of Bourbon County for $24.99 when the anniversary stout, which I had the last time, was more than this, $40, $39.99. And like I said, this one is better than that, I believe. But yeah, I mean, it's really really good stuff. And Bart, cheers to Bart. He's in the chat. Bart actually is in New Jersey, I believe.
He's in southern New Jersey, not that far from you.
Yeah.
Oh.
So cheers.
I'm in the
John, the other
I
point,
hope you're doing well, but I appreciate you stopping in.
the other point I have to make about the Black is Beautiful, if you remember from 2021, Weathered Souls was the originator from Texas of the whole Black is Beautiful movement. And I'm not sure if there were 100, but maybe there were 100. It was somewhere in the higher numbers of breweries that brewed it. And I didn't get to try a lot of them, but I did try the one from the original Weathered Souls that came in some assortment that I bought. I got to try. It was lower alcohol too. It was only like 9.8%. Still Imperial, but not like 14. This, of the ones I've had, and maybe I've had 4 or 5, this 6.1 is fantastic. I mean, it's really good. And John knows, he's getting the last drop. John knows I bought a whole case of this during the pandemic. I bought 24 cans of this and I still have 8 left there. So I've been working on them. I try to have at least once a month have one. It's kind of rough when you're drinking a 16-ounce beer by yourself. So I have to really do it over a period of time. Otherwise, Audrey will see me and she'll say, "Oh, you look like you've been drinking."
Well, Michael, I will definitely try to buy another bottle of this, and we've been talking about getting together for a while. So when I come to visit you in New York, it's only about a 5-hour drive for me, so not too far compared to when I was.
Bring a bottle, and we can split it. You, me, Audrey, and Kate.
We'll share one of these, and then you'll have to hold on to at least one of those Black is Beautifuls.
I have as well. I have a lot left. I can't. So you can't go through them quickly because it just it's rough and whatever. But that's part of the deal. That because I am here, Ian. I am both the Stout King as I am here. I'm also the Beer Baron because I do have IPA underlings out there who would probably say, "Hey, didn't you start out with IPAs? What's going on? You didn't totally." And I do still drink IPAs too. But as I've told John,
well, you started out.
The stouts have taken over. The IPAs are now palate cleansers. I'll have an Imperial Stout like this, and you can break it up with an IPA, and then I'll have another Imperial Stout. That's how you do it. And then if I roll over, you'll pick me up. I might after doing that, I might be in bad shape. I might not be able to do it. Because the IPAs that I drink are these New England style. They're not the resiny, piney, the old West Coast anymore. I don't drink that very often. I won't say never, but it's it's more rare.
That's what you started out with, wasn't it? That was the West Coast type IPAs.
There was nothing else at the beginning, John. At the beginning, That's what there was. There was no East Coast, and there were no I've told you though, I like the New England
juice bombs. Yeah,
I like the juice bombs. I do. Also, one more thing I want to mention, and I don't know,
but they didn't exist. They didn't exist when you started drinking IPAs. They didn't have the New England juice bomb, so you were drinking.
But once it came out, I liked it. I liked it from the beginning. Also, and you tell me what you think about this. They have now. You go to gas stations, supermarkets. And it's amazing how many of these they have in these cans. They have these 19.2 ounce cans. You've seen them. They're just a little bit bigger than a 16. Ian happens to have one there just to show. Probably. All right. So is that a 19.2?
It's 1 pint 30. What's 1 pint?
No pint.
1 pint.
1 pint to 16.
So yeah,
it's 16.
This is 19.2.
Okay, so you get those now in the supermarkets and the gas stations of every IPA that ever, these new juice bombs and whatever. New Belgium has the whole series with Voodoo Ranger. So you get all their varieties. They probably have 6 different ones. So Sierra Nevada has them. So I do go to my supermarket and I'll buy one if I haven't rated it yet. And then I put it on my thing and I rate it. But again, even something like that, which might be 9.2%, 19.2 ounces is a lot to put away,
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of myself. The liver's still holding up, but you can't abuse it to the point of, I am 73 and I want to go on many more years. So I have to control.
I think there's something to be said about because you're not like pounding them back and getting drunk. You're drinking fine beer. And you're drinking it respectfully and not overindulging. So it's preserving your body, I think, actually.
And I'm definitely trying to sip, not chug. There was a stage when I was much younger where I would, try to show off, and it's a bad.
That's what I did.
I remember that stage.
And Ian probably could tell you first.
I was around.
He could probably tell you firsthand about my youth and how it was.
When I was in my early 20s, I was pounding them back, and then I woke up one day and I was bald. I was like, maybe I should slow down a little bit. So I had to slow it down. So my hair would stop falling out, but the damage was done. So here we are, and
well, to give you an idea. Thanks to Mike and my father, I really didn't start drinking at all until my mid-20s.
Oh, I was 17 when I started drinking.
John, we set a really bad example for Ian. What he probably thought is, he said, if this is where they're going, I don't want to be part of this. I want to do my own thing, but I don't want to be part of this.
Right?
I did not drink at all until my mid-20s.
Oh. So Ian, I know you guys have known each other forever. How many years apart are you guys, Michael and Ian?
Ian's at least in his 50s now, right?
Yeah, I'm 53.
Okay, so we're 20 years
apart. About 20 years apart.
Yeah,
I was his dad's friend in Georgia. Ian's from Georgia.
Right.
I am from Georgia.
Okay, there you go.
Even though your mother's from New Jersey, so I mean, it's not like she always lived in Georgia.
Technically, my mother was born in she grew up in Connecticut, but she was actually born in southern Pennsylvania was where she was, like south.
Okay, so she's originally from Pennsylvania.
South of Philly, but they moved like she moved out of Pennsylvania when she was, but she was actually.
But your parents came back to Pennsylvania from Georgia because Audrey and I used to come down to visit. At least I remember when you were in Bensalem, which is not far from where you are now.
No, it's only 5 or 6 miles away.
It's close by. Now, John lived first in Columbus, Georgia. He's from Alabama, though. But then he moved to, where were you at the end? Noonan, which is outside of Atlanta.
So I lived in Noonan. Oh, sorry, it did it again. So I was in Columbus, Georgia for 4 years, and then I moved to Noonan, Georgia, and I lived there for 2 years, and that was about 20 miles south of Hartsfield-Jackson, of the Atlanta airport. So I was just outside of Atlanta in Noonan, a little small town, and then I moved up here to Chelmsford, Massachusetts, which is probably where I'll live for a very long time because I freaking love it up here.
And John is now married.
And yes, I got hitched.
Yeah.
I finally fooled somebody into a commitment, and now she's stuck with me forever. lucky her. So yeah, no, I love it up here though, and if it wasn't for Eric, for Massachusetts beer reviews, and then you got New England beer reviews and Mass Brew. There's so many New England breweries. I would change the name of my channel because I get comments all the time like, "Ooh, where did you get that beer? I'm in Georgia and I want to buy this beer." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't live in Georgia anymore." So
I know, it's funny.
If anybody out there has ideas for a updated channel name, let me know. But I can't. All the good ones are already taken. Massachusetts beer reviews would be the easy choice because I'm Georgia beer reviews. But Eric is Massachusetts beer reviews. NEBR, New England beer reviews. Yeah, there's a ton of New England beer review channels. It's because, you know why? Because the beer, and I consider you guys all, I mean, we're all, New York is part of New England technically, and Ian, you're kind of back and forth, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We're all in that, golden
I spent a lot of time in New Hampshire.
area. New Hampshire.
We're
right.
but Ian and I are in the mid-Atlantic states. You're in New England, but Ian has traveled to New Hampshire fairly extensively. You said about half the time for a while. And I
was there for almost all of 2023.
But isn't Pennsylvania technically considered part of New England, or no?
No. New England, Connecticut is the last state south, which borders New York.
I've looked at
New York is mid-Atlantic. We're mid-Atlantic, but we're close to New England. We border Connecticut.
I could pull up a map of New England right now, and about half of them would consider New York part of New England. I'm just saying.
They can say anything,
It's all semantics.
But it doesn't matter. But you would say we're more mid-Atlantic.
But New York, but both, where we all live, all three of us.
No, we're close. We're close.
The best beers in the country, as far as I'm concerned.
No question.
Especially without.
I mean, let's face it. I've been on
alcohol laws being less strict in the new.
Yeah, I've been on 495 driving through Chelmsford so many times I can't count.
Well, we'll have to exchange information after we finish the live. So next time you're coming through here, you'll have to stop by. We'll meet up. All right.
So are we getting ready for our final thoughts?
I think we're ratings. Yeah. Let's go. Let's do that because we're all. I think these high alcohol beers are starting to make us more social, and that's a good thing. But we want to let the viewers know what our final thoughts and ratings on all of our beers are, and wrap this show up within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll go back to Michael first. What are you thinking with your 6 point Black is Beautiful?
This does not reach the absolute top level of my rating scale, but it is a 98. So it's the next step down. It's world class. It's excellent. And they probably won't ever make it again. So I'm happy I have some. And I don't know, what would you say the top end on how long I can keep it? Now, this is 3 years old. Can I keep it another 2 years, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the best bourbon or the best barrel-aged stouts in the world. Look at Bourbon County. It says
5 years. It's 5.
5 years. So at a minute, I would say at least 5 years. If you cellar it properly, you could probably age it for much longer. Because I watch beer reviews and people, No Hype Beer Reviews, a couple other people that have these really exquisite, fancy cellars where they're aging beers for like 10 plus years, and they do well. It just depends on your setup and the temperature and the conditions that you're cellaring the beer in, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
these are really technically not cellared. They are just refrigerated, but there's no darkness issue. So I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's good enough. I mean, honestly, after 5 years, you're probably flipping, rolling the dice a little bit. But I would say that as long as it's refrigerated, it's kept in cool, dark temperature, it's not exposed to direct sunlight or overheated. Mm-hmm. I think there's a good chance that it'll last for much, much longer than 5 years.
And I also have, John, you know this too, I have Cojito Cowboys also, just as many, and those are 15.4. So those are a little bit newer. So I have, and you'll get a chance to you tried it once, kind of, but you'll get a chance to try it again. Whatever. John, before his flight to Massachusetts, his original first flight, decided to try the Cojito Cowboy, and it was not a good idea. But that's just because you had 7 beers before, so it wasn't just the Cojito Cowboy.
I was really, really nervous about flying, and I drank way too much, and I regret it now because I didn't get to enjoy the Cojito Cowboy. Well, I enjoyed it at the time, but I don't remember it to describe it to you right now.
The other guy he mentioned before who sent him the beef jerky, Drunken One, actually came on the air to tell me what was going on, because I kind of knew that John was in a fast fade mode, but I couldn't tell. Drunken One said John is ready to be leaving.
I think Drunken One's trying to kill me. I think Drunken One's trying to kill me too. Look at all that pepper.
That's going to be hot. That's going to be spicy. Those are spicy.
Oh, it is. It's very hot. It's good though. It's really good.
As long as you enjoy.
So we got a 98. Sorry, guys. I'm distracting myself. We got a 98 for the Black is Beautiful. Real quick question though. We kind of touched upon it before, but compared to the last Black is Beautiful that you had, is it better, worse, about the same?
I think
age-wise,
and it's very similar. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the ones, if it wasn't the last 2 ago, had a carbonation issue. And again, I wasn't on the number scale. I was on my thing. And I think I only gave it a 9.25 out of 10, which most of these are still 9.5. So it's still good. But if you have a carbonation issue, all it means, you still get the same taste. It just doesn't meld as well together, because the carbonation is important in beer. So that's the only thing I can say, about cans. Maybe in cans, the chances are greater that you could have a carbonation issue, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, right.
It's probably a crapshoot.
Well, the way
it's beer,
and the way I look at it, too, is like soda, for instance. You take a Coca-Cola and it's fresh and carbonated and it's delicious, and you take a Coke that's flat and it has the same flavor, but it tastes it's just because it has no carbonation. And people that drink, that don't drink, everybody can relate to that, because everybody's had a Coke before, right?
Right.
Right. It's the same flavor, but it loses that pizzazz. That pizzazz. There you go. The pizzazz. So it just makes it a little more dull, even though the flavors are exactly the same. So that's a good point.
This one is up to snuff. I'm going to give it my full 98.
So no carbonation issues with that Black is Beautiful. That's good. I'm glad. So let's go to Ian. Sorry, guys. I'm going
to give this. I mean, this is it's good, but it's not like one of the best bourbon barrel aged stouts I've had. So I'm going to make a 95.
So I know you, which is that's a solid A. And I know we talked about this earlier. You're a big drinker of the regular 1050 non-bourbon barrel aged one. Do you think that the one you're drinking now is as good, better, worse, about the same as the unbarrel aged version?
It's hard to say, because I only have this one example. I only have the one can. So it's hard to say. I mean, I would have to.
Well, this
one particular can, I would say it's about equal, if maybe not. I would say it's about equal to a regular 1050.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
which is, I mean, it's good, but there's nothing spectacular about it over a standard 1050.
Josh says that I'm like a flat Coke. I lost my pizzazz. Thank you, Josh.
Ian, you would like Josh. He's got dry humor. He's cool though.
Yeah, he's a real dick. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. We've also got Turtle Man in the chat. I got to hang out with Turtle Man. He lives in Maine now, I believe, and he got to hang out with me and Bumpy and Tanner when I was up at Bumpy's place this last time. And there's a couple of beer reviews that we all did together. They won't be on my channel. They'll either be on Tanner's channel or Bumpy's channel. But anyway, Turtle Man, awesome, awesome guy. Glad I got to meet you. Cheers to you. Thanks for tuning in. So 98 and a 95.
It's time, John.
Rating,
you have to tell us
I think
where
we
you
all
are.
know.
We know where it's going, or where
I think we know. I'm not trying to be, one of those guys that's starting to rate everything 100 because I feel like that's the direction I'm going in over the last 2 or 3 examinations. But when we do these examinations, we're drinking we're all bringing the best that we can find, high end stuff, So I don't feel bad about doing this, and I have to give this 100 because I gave the Bourbon County Reserve, or not the Reserve, the Anniversary Stout. I gave that 100, and this is the 2-year Eagle Rare barrel aged version, and it's better than that. So anything less than 100 would be wrong because it's better than the last one that I gave 100 to. So if I was giving extra credit which I'm not because I can't do that. If I was Jay Terrio though, I would give it 100 plus or 102. Okay. It would get extra credit points for being so amazing, but we're just going to stick with the 100.
Does this one knock down the previous one? Knocks it down to a 99.
If I was rating this one side by side with the Anniversary Stout, which was more money too, I would give that one a 99, and this would be 100. Yeah, I would bump that one down because this one's better, and I don't see anything being better than this. If I was to drink the Blanton's or the Elijah Craig or the Old Forester version of this, it would probably be just as good. Different notes from the different bourbon barrels, but I don't think anything could be better than this. This is the best Bourbon County that I've ever had. Hands down, it's not even a competition. This blows away the competition. And Michael, I will buy another bottle if I
try to find another one because I'd like to try it. I haven't seen any of those here.
And I will save it for when I come visit you in New York, and we will collaborate with Ian, who's not too far away, and we'll all try to meet up and enjoy. This is something that you want to enjoy with multiple friends because it's just dynamite. If you're a Bourbon County lover, you're going to love it. If you like barrel-aged stouts in general, you're going to love it. This is as good as it gets. This is the cream of the crop. This is why we do this, to find beers like this. So 100 all day. Bourbon County's in the chat.
The next time we do this, I'll break out one of my Harvestons.
You'll break out a what?
One of my Harvestons.
Harvestons.
John, have you ever had a Harveston?
I don't think so.
They are the creme de la creme of barrel aged stouts.
Ian has some.
Yeah. Really?
When we go offline, I'll show you. So I'll show you what I have.
Okay, yeah. Harvest. That is not.
It's funny, Ian.
Really
John has seen the beginnings of your basement when you went and took that shot. Do you remember the shot like last year? I think you went and took a shot, and I sent it to John, and he was impressed. He thought he liked your selection stuff you had.
Bourbon Bounty found the Coors Light earlier, and it was watery. Yeah, I would say so, Bourbon. Especially if you're drinking stuff like this. I mean, Bourbon Bounty, right? You like bourbon, so if you're drinking Coors Light,
Oh,
it's probably
that was what kind of amused me is when you're talking about being $25 a bottle, and I have friends who would be like, I don't pay $25 for a case.
right.
Yeah, but they're drinking
yeah,
Coors. Ian, they're drinking Coors Light.
Exactly.
That's the difference. So I mean, that's just the way it goes.
That's all right.
Or Yingling Premium.
They're missing out, right?
Yeah.
Yingling's better than Coors. At least Yingling has a little bit of flavor, right?
Yeah, most
not the premium. The Yingling, the Yingling Lager, the traditional.
Yeah, Yingling Lager isn't bad. Yingling Porter is pretty good.
Have you ever had the Lord Chesterfield ale from them?
Yep.
See, I haven't.
Okay.
And now that I live up here, I had to look. I haven't had it.
I've had it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me to get. I mean, being in Pennsylvania,
And you know what's funny?
Oh,
before
right.
we go, before we go off, and we.
I'm sorry. Say again.
When Ian was a young buck in the old days, his father and I used to drink Tennessee 12-horse ale, which you probably have heard of. Maybe you have, or maybe you haven't.
I have.
And it's interesting because I've always thought it was high alcohol. It's only like 5.2. But in the stream of things, then when you're comparing it with macros, it just seems so much better. It just shows you how your taste switches, and you don't realize it was an ale though. See, I was used to lagers. We drank almost all lagers. This is before my IPA stage. This is when I was young.
Yeah.
I used to drink lagers. I used to like Miller High Life was my favorite lager. I liked it better than Schlitz. I liked it better.
When I was growing up, my father drank Molson Red Label was his favorite.
There you go, Bart.
Yeah, Molson, because it was Canadian, was the water was different, so it was different.
Yeah, and it was the Molson Red Label, which is the real Canadian market stuff. So
right,
that
was the Canadian version. That was really good. Yeah. So now you talk about the Lord Chesterfield, which is Youngling's ale. It's good, but again, we're only talking. It's still it's a session thing. Maybe it's 5.4. I don't know. After you start doing stuff like this, you say to yourself, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I'm not saying if somebody offered me one of those, I'm not saying I would refuse. I'm just saying that, it's not the same thing. It's different. So, John, if you want to wrap it up, we can, and then stay online, stay and keep talking and not be.
Absolutely. So, first of all, Bart, that's a good. Bart says Ballantine ale is my go-to. I can get Ballantine ale.
My father had some Ballantine. I remember that.
Pretty easily now up here. I was one of those hard to get down in Georgia, but I found that at a couple spots, and actually I didn't find it down there. People sent it to me, and I really liked it. Ballantine's a really good one. Got a nice little kind of hop bite, and it's nice and malty and hoppy, and it's more flavorful than your typical macro beer. I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I've had it, but I'm pretty sure it's still a Pabst. Pabst owns it now. It's a Pabst brand, which is why it's so difficult to find. Pabst and mostly Pabst. They bought out a lot of brands, and then they do no marketing, no promotion for them, and then they sell them in only a few states and certain regional areas, and which stinks because there's some of the best. Some of those beers are the best macro beers you can find, but you can't find them. But anyway, let's wrap this up. I want to thank everybody in the chat. We had a great discussion in the chat. A lot of people stopped by and left comments and going back and forth. Really appreciate you guys. Without you, we wouldn't be here. And I want to thank Mr. Michael Kormaroff, the Stout King, and Mr. Ian F. I would say your last name, but you just put Ian. Ian, that's all you need to know, people.
It's always fun to pronounce my last name.
Yeah. I think I know how to pronounce it, but I'll tell you off air because I don't want to embarrass myself because it's probably wrong. Thank you guys for joining me. This was an awesome examination. I think we all had some really amazing beers, and I could not be happier with the beer that I brought too, which is I still have just a little bit left to enjoy with you guys offline. Thank you to everybody in the chat. chat. Thank you guys for joining me. Some wonderful beers, and we'll do another one soon. Hopefully, we'll
Until the
talk
next
about that
time.
off here. And, yeah, come up with another theme here soon. But yeah, hope everybody has a great rest of their week. Enjoy your
Take care,
family, enjoy
everybody.
your friends, enjoy some great beers, and we'll see you right here on the next live examination. Until then, cheers, everybody. Take care.
Cheers.